You're listening to Titans of the Trades. I'm your host, Ryan England, author of Hire Better People Faster and creator of the CoreFit Hiring System, a proven process to help growing companies attract and retain only the best. I'm on a mission to revolutionize the perception of the trades and elevate it to new heights. After growing up in a blue-collar family, my passion for making the trades cool again runs deep. If you're a titan in the industry and want to be on my show, stick around until the end and I'll reveal how you can be my next guest. Welcome back. I am your host, Ryan England, and I am excited for today's conversation. Today's guest has been serving the construction industry for his entire career, and he loves helping people understand the power of financial accounting and how you can integrate technology to do all of that. I want to jump right in. I want to introduce today's guest, Timothy Wingate with G+F Business and Financial Consulting. Timothy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me. I appreciate it.
So what's that thing that business owners hold on to, that belief that they have that holds them back, that you see all the time when it comes into what you're doing? I mean, we got to talk a little bit beforehand and you're doing some cool stuff. So yeah, what's that myth that we need to break for them right now?
The biggest myth that I hear is because we've always done it this way, it is the best way to do it.
Oh.
And I mean, it's a crazy thing to say to me, you know, no offense to anyone else. But because otherwise we would still be riding in trains, or we'd still be riding Model T cars from Ford, you know, if that was always the best way, because we've always done it this way. So I'm really big on introducing new technology, not just for technology's sake and just saying that I want to use the new and best technology. No, I want to use technology that's going to make my company more efficient. You know, the way to allow us to earn money with less sweat. You know, so that if that resonates with anybody. So I just think there's always a better way of doing things, and I'm really a strong advocate for technology that make me sweat less, and make my team embrace like this new way of doing things, because it makes my job easier, and I can go home and spend more time with my family, and I can go and take vacations now. Like, you know, all these things I can do now because I work more efficiently.
Yeah. I get it. I tell people all the time, you know, we focus so much on helping them with recruiting, and we do a lot of technology integrations in what we do. And I say, you know what? I want you to hire people to do people stuff. And the stuff that we don't need people to do, get a computer to do it. Because there's so much in construction.
Yep.
There's so much in just running a business in general that a computer can do, or you can outsource for very little expense. It blows my mind that there are some of these companies that are doing 8 figures a year and they're still doing payroll manually. And they got a whole payroll department just to process this. I'm like, no, you need to just go to a payroll provider who has all the technology and just hit go.
Yeah.
But then what they tell me is, well, that doesn't integrate with my job costing system. And so that's where I think you and your team come in, is how do you incorporate that technology? So tell me a little bit about that. Like, what are you seeing out there in the industry where they're not taking advantage of the new way of doing things, and some ways that you and your team have been able to help?
Yeah. So like you said, some of the guys or companies out there, they're doing payroll, you know, very, very manual. They also have very inefficient ways of capturing data that's happening out there in the field. They're very slow on getting invoices out to clients. And sometimes they are double paying bills because they have no good way of tracking what bills have been paid, what's outstanding, all those type of things. And so all these things hurt the overall success of the business, and also it kills profit margins, because when you make mistakes, profit margins get smaller. Because if you got to spend more time on it out there in the field, that job margin just got smaller. So those are the things that to think about. It's like, okay, I need to be more efficient in these processes. So maybe I'm just not the skilled person to do that. Like I'm not the person to go out and find all the best software and bring that back to the team and say, hey, this is what we're going to use and train everybody on it. So a lot of construction companies, they find people like me and G+F, and they say, you know what, these guys specialize in construction accounting. They have a system that they use. They have technology that they are skilled in. And I want to talk with them to see how can they explain this to me, and how explain it in a way that's going to make sense for my business, because I'm maybe doing residential, I may be doing commercial, I may be a specialty contractor who only specializes in HVAC versus, a tile contractor. So how can their, the tech stack that they use help my line of business in the way that I do things? And that's where the beauty comes in with the work that I do. I love coming in and showing them like this aha moment of like, how do we use a project management software like Build-A-Dren to integrate with QuickBooks Online, and then to also, bring in Bill.com, who's going to pay our bills, but all that information is going to trickle over to Build-A-Dren, so I can still capture it there, and then use another software like Dex, receipt capture system, to also capture some of the ad hoc things that we're doing, when we're making, just purchases on the whim and bringing that back to the office. Like, and how do we keep all this in line, and who is the quarterback, and who is the person who sits in this seat versus the person that, and how do they differ, And so what we do is we give everybody an assignment. This is your job. Your job is to do this inside of this software, and your job is to have a person who's going to be the liaison between, my team and your team, and who's going to be able to hold that communication, make that a solid communication, and make us run like a well-oiled machine, because that person is very significant, the person who's the liaison. So it's just all those different things, and putting all those together makes a company feel like a company, and not just this business that I own that employs me, because a lot of companies are run just like that. They're ran with the owner being everything. And as soon as something, the owner never feels like he can step away, he or she, can step away because they don't have systems in place. They don't have people in place. And so I hope that when they get with us, they feel like, okay, I have a huge team who's helping me run this whole back office, and I feel so much more efficient, and things just flow. I never had this much time. Now they can think about other things like growing the business, meeting with some new clients, and, doing more business development, which is the space they should be in.
Yeah, I see a lot of times as businesses grow, they usually have their people grow with them. So maybe you hire a bookkeeper early on, they eventually become a full-time bookkeeper. Then you're like, ooh, you're going to become my accounting manager, and then you're going to become my controller, and then you're going to become my CFO. And they grew up inside the business without having this exposure to all the things that are happening in the industry, all the things that are happening in the world. And so you might even have a full-blown executive team that still misses out on some of the technology, because you homegrown them. They didn't get to see it working for some other big company that's already incorporated all this stuff. We see that a lot with the technology piece, whereas we have a way to automate some process, and they find out it's going to be $100 a month. And you're like, I'm going to spend $100 a month automate that. I have people that I pay to do that stuff. Or we could have those people do people stuff.
Exactly.
And automate the other stuff, because in the scheme of things, $100 a month is nothing. I mean, when you think about all the people that are involved in these manual processes, or even time, what the time of the owner is worth, or even someone on your executive team. I mean, we're not measuring their time in $50 increments. I mean, we're talking hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And if it takes them an hour a month, and their time is worth $1,000 an hour to your company, that's a lot of technology you could buy for $1,000. And they can
It
go do
is.
more effective things with their time and not be burdened with the stuff that a system can do. I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, some of the question I get a lot is like, where do I start?
Mm.
You know, is it with, Build-A-Trend or QuickBooks or Bill.com or Dex? Like, where do I start? The first thing before any accountant can truly help you, they have to have a baseline. And so in order to have that baseline, we have to make sure that the books are good and clean. And because if we don't have them good and clean, we don't know where to direct you. We don't know where your profit margin should be. We don't know where your break-even point is. We don't know if the margins that you have set for certain jobs, if that's enough to take care of your fixed operating expenses. Like, you need to have a solid baseline.
Mm.
So that's number one. Number two, know that QuickBooks alone is not a solution for a construction company. Okay. Some people always they think that, okay, I get QuickBooks. QuickBooks is going to be able to do job costing for me. It's going to be able to do all these different things to manage, multiple projects and all this stuff. QuickBooks is not built for that. Okay. Accounting software is not, that particular accounting software is not built to just manage construction companies by itself. Okay. It complements another software. And so we are big, Build-A-Trend user. That's part of our tech stack here. So Build-A-Trend is a project management software that we use in conjunction with QuickBooks. Most of the field guys and mostly the business owner will live inside the project management software. They will live there. They want to make sure that POs are being started from there. Bills are being captured inside of that software. The job schedule is inside of there. So you may say, well, when I get Build-A-Trend, where do I start inside of a project management software? We never use a project management software, or we haven't used it efficiently. The first thing that you want to do is make sure that you're at least, know how to put in an effective estimate with cost codes. So make sure your cost codes are tight, meaning that they are solid cost codes. You use those same cost codes to estimate a job. So those are the same cost codes you're going to have inside of Build-A-Trend, which is going to roll over to QuickBooks. Okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing is making sure that you know how to enter a schedule inside of Build-A-Trend, because schedule is a big piece. Because if we don't complete a job on schedule, now that's a profit bleed there. Now we're going to start to see the job lose money if we're on the job longer than what we've estimated to be on the job. Okay. And then we're also going to miss out on opportunities as well, because we can't take on new projects if we're still finishing up an old project, if we don't have the capacity. Okay. So we talked about cost codes and getting that estimate right, scheduling and getting that into the system. And then now, the next thing is making sure that the field guys, if you have field guys, that they are putting their time in and that they are capturing their daily logs. Daily logs tells us what went wrong or right on a project at the end of a project, and it's sometimes during the project as well. So those are the three main things. When you say project management system, what I need to do well inside of that's estimating, scheduling, and capturing time and daily logs. Crucial.
Yeah. And then there's the whole change management component of it. When you introduce this technology into the system, and your supers are like, that's not the way that's not the way we've done it for the last 30 years. There's a whole change management component. And I agree with you. Back to what you said to start this, is that old way of doing things may not always be the best way. And I think about, I think that's one of the reasons that it's a struggle for a lot of people to recruit nowadays, is the world has changed outside of the construction industry. And if you want to bring the new generation into the construction industry, you have to have technology. You have to gamify your processes. You have to show them that you care about more than just trading time for money. You have to give them a sense of purpose. You have to give them something more and exciting. You have to give them training, educate them on industry trends and new technologies and everything else. And even so, your old dogs may not be as excited about the changes, but I think that when you incorporate these kinds of things, it's going to be a lot easier to bring people in. And that's where my brain always goes. I'm always thinking, okay, how do we incorporate what Timothy's doing at G+F, and how do we use that from a recruiting perspective? And to say we're using the latest technology and we're making your lives easier and we're helping you with better reporting, better postmortems on your projects and those kinds of things. Now all of a sudden it makes it easier for us to attract and ultimately retain people. Because the last thing people want to do is work harder these days.
No.
We're all about the work smarter. and technology can really help you do that. So whether it's, and I'm just going to plug this, but whether it's accounting systems or it's recruiting systems or it's employee engagement technology, there's a lot of platforms out there that I'm sure you use. Like you just mentioned a couple. I could mention, we could have a whole episode just on different types of technologies and what they use them for. And so I think the point is, the message I want people to hear is that there is a better way of doing things typically. Right? The way you've always done it is not always the best. And I love some of the examples you gave, but more importantly than that is getting your team on board to use this technology can really just open you up. I mean, when you said the owner can focus on things like business development now, I can't tell you how many times I've worked with a construction company and they're like, oh, we've got these couple of anchor projects and they've really been paying the bills. And I'm like, what's your plan to replace them? Oh, we're so busy working on these anchor projects. We haven't thought about replacing them yet. I'm like, well, the day is going to come. These jobs. And the last thing I want to hear is you had to lay off 12 people or 15 people because you had no new work for them. And so often having a system or a technology platform in place can help you get ahead of that.
You can.
Are you watching this? Have you thought about that? And all of a sudden it can really just be a game changer in the way that you not just manage your business, but the way you continue to grow and scale and give you that peace of mind and freedom to know that there's more to it. And there's something else system out there watching out for your business for you, not having to worry about the fact that you don't have enough people to make it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're preaching the same sermon that I preach all the time, to my clients, and they have, and then one thing I want to add to that is you have to give yourself time, because that's one of the first things they say, well, how long is it going to take to implement all of this, and to get it up and running? And it really just depends on where the starting point is, but give yourself a good solid year to get it accustomed to all of this and your team accustomed to it and having it running, pretty decent, So that's where you want to think about. You want to think about like, hey, we're going to start all this. We got to give ourselves a year of really working this. Now to get some of the new things, up and running, like QuickBooks, get all those things set up and start capturing data from those softwares and systems. Give yourself 90 days, 90 days. And I'll say I would stretch it out sometimes depending on where the learning curve is, because it really just depends on the client's learning curve or the team's learning curve. Give yourself 90 to 6 months. Okay. 90 days to 6 months, just depending on where the learning curve is. Don't beat yourself over the head. Say, I can't believe this thing is not up and running yet. I can't believe I can't understand this. This is too hard for me. This is too much of a disruption to my business. Right now I'm working 10 times more than I was working before we started all of this.
Yeah.
That's usually how it is when you're bringing in new systems and new technology. You slow down to speed up, you slow down to speed up, because you're going to slow down, get all this in place. And then next thing you know, 2 years from now, you will be in a totally different arena. You've been in a totally different arena, because now you've been using the system for 2 years, and now things are running more efficiently. You're not going back. Trust me, you're not going back to writing things on paper. Like you would never want to do that again. You would never want to go back to not having daily logs inside of a project management system and being able to go back, 5 or 6 projects to see what happened on February 27th at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, you're not going to go back to doing something different and not having that available to you.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I deal with the same thing in our program. I mean, I tell people, it didn't get broke overnight. It's not going to get fixed overnight. And implementing the process, building the process, implementing the new technology, that's the easy part. It's getting your team on board. It's incorporating into their workflows, into their mindset, coming in the morning and logging into the system and saying, hey, this is just part of my day. That's where I find it takes so much time. And for a lot of owners, and if you're listening to this right now, and this is you, I want to encourage you that the fires that are burning right now that seem to be the only thing you need to focus on, and you don't have time to think about the future of the company and everything else, if you don't change, will still be burning tomorrow. Absolutely. But when you change in a year, the fires that are burning are going to be so different, so much more manageable, so much further out when you start incorporating systems like what Timothy's doing over at G+F, and even the stuff we do at Core Matters and incorporating our recruiting and retention and hiring systems. You'll be able to do that as well. Timothy, thank you so much for being on the show today. Wealth of knowledge. How do people get a hold of you? How do they learn more? How do they get started?
Yeah, so big thing is you can find us on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, so some more podcasts we've been on and other things about our company are on our YouTube channel. You can just Google. I think when you're on YouTube, it's at G+F, so all spelled out, GPLUSF. And then you can also go to our website, construction.accountant, book some time with me. And I love to talk about your back office and how your accounting needs are being served or underserved. And we can talk about it that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Timothy, for being on the show today. I've enjoyed it. And I know there's some great information, and we'll have all of those URLs in the show notes. So if you're listening to this from behind the windshield, which I know is very common in this space, don't worry. When you get back to the desk or on your phone, you'll be able to get all of that information. Thanks again, Timothy.
Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan England here. Thank you so much for listening to Titans of the Trades. If you're a titan in the construction, manufacturing, or skilled trades industry and would like to be a guest on my show, please visit podcast.corematters.com. If you found value in this interview, would you share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot on your phone and share it with a friend or post it on social. And if you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Titans of the Trades. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, click the subscribe button. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and get me one step closer to solving the labor crisis facing the industry. Want to know more about how we're doing that? Go to our website or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening.